Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Bob's Garage. So this video is going to be about the Ram 5500 that I bought through an online auction a while back. I'm just doing routine maintenance and repairs. So I'm going to cover off a few little things that I'm doing. First is just the normal oil filters and fuel filters and whatnot. I'm not going to go into details. There is a boatload of videos on changing oil. Really nothing special. In fact, I've already got work started on this. I've already got the oil changed. I was kind of pleasantly surprised that use a Napa Gold filter. What I was surprised about though is that the filter itself, I just showed a quick glimpse of it, but the housing, the filter housing is pretty rusty. Now, this truck, which makes you think that it's been in there a while. Now, these Ram 5500s of 2018 has displayed, it's a timer that shows percent usage of the filter. So it still had a couple of percent on it. It was pretty low, but I have to imagine that they wouldn't just be resetting that. So my suspicion is, I'm pretty sure the truck went up for auction in the spring, like early spring or late winter, and it's probably been sitting on the yard for a while. And I think that filter's probably been in there for a while because the truck probably didn't get much usage, and it then sat for almost half year, 3/4 of a year. That's probably why it got so corroded. The oil itself was thick. I was surprised. I'm switching to a 5W30. I'll show you that. Oh, sorry, 5W40. I decided to go with Rotella. There's a Valvoline product, but I decided to go with a 5W40 synthetic diesel oil, and the intent of that, and again, I'm not sponsored anyway, Valvoline is another product which is frankly manufacturer recommended, but it was convenient to get the oil where I normally pick up my automotive supplies, so I'm going to stick with that. And I got Mopar brand filters. So like I said, I've already got the oil filter in, pre-lubed it, incredibly easy. In the 5500, I've seen in the 3500s, you have to come in through a fender well. There's a straight open path down from the filter housing out, so it was real easy. Again, nothing special on this. So I'm just letting it drain out. In the meantime, the other thing I mentioned in the previous video, and I'll put a link to the previous video when we picked it up, the fan shroud is also out. So easy to do so far. I haven't got the new one in. I took off the shroud that's around the radiator to give myself more clearance, 4 screws. A little bit hard to get to, but not a problem. That gave me some more space, and then I was able to take this out. So there is a 3-inch piece that goes across here that's entirely missing. You can see it got shredded pretty good. So clearly got caught up in the fan. So I got to be really careful. You can actually see some gouge marks there. So I got to be really careful about how this goes back in to make sure I don't run this problem. My guess is this is probably caught on the inside here as opposed to the outside. You can see things there too. That's probably from rubbing. So I'm not going to show the details of that. It's pretty straightforward. It's cold out. I don't like working on plastics when it's cold. So I took my time getting these parts out. Be very mindful of the radiator. They don't nick up the fins. I'm going to be even more slow putting it back in and making specifically sure that this lip, or where the lip would have been, is exactly in the right spot. This would have sat here like that, and there would have been a rubber, that soft rubber filling the gap. So spend a lot of time making sure that's right. So I'll bring you back when that's done, and I'll let you know if there's any surprises. Well, the shroud's all in now. No surprises. Frankly, putting the nuts and the screws back in took way longer than actually getting the shroud in. So again, the old one, and I've got a an original Mopar part. And I was concerned about the quality in it breaking. There is an aftermarket one as well. Looks like this is a pretty common issue. Apparently the plastic breaks down. But one thing that helped out, and I suspect it's intentional, you see this tab here and here in the corresponding holes there. You can walk those together. It's pretty hard to do one-handed, like that, and that helps guide this bottom lip outside of the bottom shroud. So there's two inners, or two outers, I guess, two radiator hard plastic shrouds, and then this one that's on the motor side. So when you're putting this in, you've got to keep that from sliding into the bottom shroud. So that helps. I'm sure that's why they put those there. So I hooked those in, slid it down, and really no problems whatsoever. No damage. Again, the soft side goes against the radiator, so the hard pieces are away from it. You can see all this here where it all ripped up. So from here to here, everything on across the top is gone. What I used, so the next thing is when I got it in place and then got the inner shroud in, I used just a tire iron, a tire removal iron, to help push one of the lips. One lip was caught on the inside, so I just helped it to work it all the way out. Now, in terms of other wrenches, 13 millimeter and a 4 millimeter Allen. 4 screws. I use a 4 millimeter Allen for the shroud that goes, the hard plastic shroud that goes in the radiator. 13 millimeter for this one. And just for some detail, so you've got the top here. You've got the other one for the inner, or the motor shroud here. You've got the one right there, and then you've got right here, you've got for the inner. Underneath, let me swing down. So I don't know how well this will show up. Let's see if I can find a place to, yeah, that might work. So, bottom here for the motor shroud, if you like, and then right there is the bottom of the radiator shroud. On the other side, get this lighting out of the way. On the other side, the shroud there, and right up there you can see the bottom of the radiator, the hard plastic radiator shroud there. So those 4 screws with the 4 millimeter Allen screws, and then these other 4 here. It's like I said, and this is what I was talking about, where this lip here, can't see them now. Oh, that's why they've broken off. So this was the lip that I hooked these onto to get underneath. It looks like they broke, unfortunately. Well, zip ties will hold that in place till the next time anyways. So, like I said, pretty easy. And here, I want to get the lighting in there too well. Go there. So there's about a 1/2 inch to 3/8 clearance all around, so I made sure, there's really very little adjustment, but I made sure that I had a pretty equal clearance all the way around. So I think I've got it okay now. Had my mic off for that, so I'm not sure if you got all of that. But like I was saying, is that I made sure there was about a 3/8 to ½ inch clearance all the way around. You can't really adjust it. There's very little. There's a bushing, so you can't really move things around. But just to make sure everything's okay, and again, working this flap out all the way around. So I'll probably bring you back when I get into the fuel filter change, and the next thing I'll be doing after that will be the rear brakes. I got the same problem. You can see that the rear brakes are tight. Whether they're seized, I won't know until I get them out, but I'll bring you back for that. It's been a few days. I'm now going to be doing the fuel filter, the two filters. So it's a separator, which is a type of a filter, but it's also got a bit of a bowl, so the water will go to the bottom if there's any water in the tank, and there's a sensing element there. So I'm going to do that one in the engine mounted final filter. So again, I think I showed this before. I've got Mopar parts. It's actually better than online, getting it directly from Chrysler. So an MO291 and an MO867. I don't think I'm going to show a whole lot of details about this. I'll take you underneath and show with the Ram 5500, like the oil filter. The fuel filters are easy to get to. I've got an 1.1/8 nut for the engine mounted filter. Not really happy with that. Should be a 28. I just don't have one. A swivel to go with it. This filter wrench, I like this style. This worked really well on the oil filter. And then a little bit of Tygon hose to drain the diesel into convenient location. So looking at the fuel filter, there's the filter there. Okay, with a fresh battery now. There's the filter, and I think what I was saying was there's way more room under a 5500 than the 3500 and the 3/4 ton. So there's the filter, there's the separator, there's the drain. Open that counterclockwise to drain separator off. There's the connector, pinch and pull. There we go. Looks okay. So all we got to do is drain this. Let's see if you can see that right. Drain off. I'll run a Tygon poly tube to a drain. Capture the diesel fuel. Open this valve counterclockwise, and then when that's done, I'll take this filter off. What I'm going to do is I intend to refill this separator with fuel. Reason for that is I want to minimize the amount of priming I got to do. So every time you prime, you basically energize the grid heater to warm the engine. And just trying to avoid cycles. I'm also trying to minimize the amount of air that gets introduced to the system. So I'm going to fill it up as much as possible, like an oil filter. And hopefully that's going to minimize the amount of priming I got to do. I'd like to keep it to just 3 priming turns, and I'll show that later. But it's basically you turn the key to the on position, and that cycles the lift pump in the tank. And you don't start it, you just set it to the on position. You do that 3 times, and that runs the air through the system, so air doesn't go through the injectors. So I'm not going to show much of this. It's all pretty straightforward. There's a whole pile of videos, but I will bring it back if I run into a problem. Well, I got it out, but that was getting me worried. What I wound up doing, and it's the same problem. This, good filter, Napa filter. but it's been on for a while, or the truck's been sitting, and there is a white substance in there. Now that to me looks like an aluminum oxide, but I'm not sure. Anyhow, I had to switch cameras. I hope this one you can hear all right. But the same problem as the oil filter. So I don't know if these just haven't been changed in a long time or the truck's been sitting a long time. But I had a hell of a time getting it out. I just took my time. By the way, be interested in comments. There's a white substance all around the inside. To me, it looks like an aluminum oxide. But I'd love to hear some people's opinions. So all I did, you can see where I was starting to collapse the case, and I was just beginning to give up. But I took a chisel and a hammer and just kept on tapping around the base of it. And then I slowly got loose a little bit of penetrating fluid and just worked it. Ironically, the sensor itself almost came right out. So sort of consistent with what I'm seeing so far, like things that's kind of fused together. So I'll get this back in. Like I said, I'm going to fill it up with a bit of diesel fluid, transfer the sensor into the new filter, a little bit of fuel to lubricate it, and put it back in, clean off the mating surfaces and whatnot. But so thankfully I got it out. Okay, the engine fuel filter, the fine fuel filter. Again, there's it's going to be probably pretty glary because of the light now. It's getting late. There's the replacement filter, Mopar brand, MO291. The biggest challenge I had was this one, which again I have to presume is a Napa. There's nothing to grab. I guess I could have got pliers and squeezing that, so I just wound up with a pick working it up. But here's the interesting part. See the O-ring here? Take a look in the housing. I don't know how well you can see in there. I'll try to get the camera in separately. But there are at least 2 other O-rings in the base of that housing that have been left behind. Here's filter, O-ring for the cap of the filter, and an O-ring at the base, sorry. So this is why I only trust my own work. O-ring run. O-ring 2. Does anybody ever check their work nowadays? Got a service filter indicator on the dash on driving the truck back. Take a look at this. Looks like Fido's been at work. Okay, getting late now and the work's done. So overall, nothing really too surprising. I think the fuel separator was the biggest surprise, being so tight. But clearly overall you can see a theme here where the truck's been sitting as a minimum. and maybe the quality of some of the repairs weren't that great. So I've got the oil filter, no real problems getting it changed. Got oil in there, just checking the levels right now. The rear separator, as I said, getting it loose was the only real challenge. I think I mentioned I refilled all the filters with fresh diesel, wiped out the inside of the engine filter, the fine filter, and pulled out those extra O-rings. And again, this filter, I guess one thing I'd have to say about it, it looks loose. So these extra filter or O-rings that are found in the bottom of the housing, it looks like that's a loose fit, and they probably pulled out when the filter was removed. And the air filter, pretty dirty. I was getting a warning sign, but what happened, as I saw, was the mouse nest on the intake, and that caused the when the engine got hot, the air valves to actually come disconnected, and I think that's why I got the differential pressure filter. So that's changed out. So basically, routine filters and changes. The next thing I'll be doing, I'm going to do that as a separate video, is I'm going to change out the transmission fluid, and I'm going to check the differential. Before that, I'll probably take a look at when it the next time it's supposed to be done. Don't get too far in, but the transmission fluid looks a little dark, so I might just do it a bit early. Hope you found this interesting. You'll be seeing more videos on this truck and getting it ready, servicing it and getting it ready for use as a truck camper. So thanks for watching.